Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Why isn't Streamlabs? Oh God, I just did this thing.
Hello.
Wait. Oh, we're live.
Well, hello, everyone. All
Awesome.
right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's edition of Lighting the Torch. My name is Candace Miles, but I go by Coach C. I am the founder and CEO of No Gap Consulting, where I am empowering the next generation of leaders who are stepping into leadership for the very first time, embrace their identity as they are taking on a new role. But I am also representing the millennial. You guys will understand this a little bit if this is your first time. So if you are a millennial, y'all already know. If you're returning, what I love for y'all to do is to put that peace sign emoji in the chat. Please don't leave me out here by myself because I feel like it's always me by myself. Like, hey, peace sign. I am also bringing greetings all the way from the West Coast. But as you see, I'm not here by myself. I'm here with my lovely co-host. Hey, Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Haley. I am the CEO, and that is Chief Energy Officer of Transition to Infinite Possibilities, where I help mid-career professionals navigate their career transitions, master the art of leadership, all while elevating their energy to simply elevate their careers. And I represent Gen X. We don't do all that. It's just, hey, how y'all doing? And we keep it moving. But as Candace stated, she's on the West Coast and I represent the East Coast. And so excited to be here. Let's get this going. Candace, tell them why we're here.
Yes, the reason why we are here, this is your first time, welcome. Lighting the torch is where we do exactly what we do. We light the torch from generation to generation, providing tips, resources, and our lived experiences for those who are professionally in your career or even in leadership. Is what we do is by lighting the torch from generation to generation by passing that on, including you. All right, Cynthia. Look, we got some
We
Gen X. Okay,
don't
Gen X, y'all better represent. Millennials, y'all need to show up. Okay.
we all about those career transitions, but
Yes.
what we are here to talk about today is in the title, the leadership illusion. What got you here won't keep you here. And while our title is focused on leadership, to be quite honest, this message is definitely for those in leadership roles, those aspiring to be leaders. And if you're just in your career and you could be faced with some similar challenges, whether you're a people leader or an individual contributor, this message will really help you navigate some of the career challenges you might be faced with. So let's keep it real. How many of you, if you give me a thumbs up or put it in the chat, feel like you have been going and going and going, improving, but for whatever reason, you're stuck or you feel like you're not getting that opportunity. Whereas, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even a year ago, maybe, you put in the work, you got the opportunity, you showed up, you were excited in your career, and then bam, it's like you hit a brick wall or what some may call the glass ceiling, right? And you can't seem to move the needle anymore. It's like, well, dang, do they not remember what I had before when I got here? And then do they not see it anymore? Like, what's really happening? And so what we really want to tap into with today's conversation is, you know, what is it? Why aren't you getting those opportunities? What is getting in the way? What is that trap? What is really hindering you from making that next move, and what can you do about it? So that's what we're here for. Please add your comments in. If anything resonates with you, we definitely want this to be very engaging. So Candace, I'm gonna turn it to you. What kind of jumps out at you first when we think about the trap? And we've checked all of the boxes before, we've done the projects, you did the mentoring, you joined the resource groups, you did all these things in your development plan,
Mhm.
and still the needle isn't moving?
So for me, sorry, I'm a little bit of a delay on my end. I don't know what happened right there. But no, for me, the thing that sticks out is like where are you trying to go? Because you could be doing all the trainings, you could be doing all the development, you can go to all the networking, get the mentorship. However, if you're not very clear on what your next stop is, then that also too could be hindering your growth when it comes to that, where you feel it's stagnant, because whatever excitement that you had when you first got into that role, and now you're at this place where, okay, I just feel like I'm on this mouse wheel, running and running and running and running and going nowhere. 9 times out of 10, it's time for you to take a step back and do some self-reflection to see exactly, okay, what is it that I want to do next? Am I just okay? And I'm, we talking to the ones that sometimes, especially being in leadership, since we are kind of gearing towards that way, sometimes you have those employees who are disgruntled because they are at that place, right, but don't know how to move past that. And so it really starts with yourself figuring out, okay, what is my next move? Where do I want to go? Because if not, you're going to be grasping onto everything, thinking that, oh, I need to go this way. Oh, I need to go, I'm all about the road trip analogy. Let me go left. Let me go right. Oop, I hit a detour. Let me go this way. Let me go that way. No. What do you really, where you really want to go is really what stuck out to me.
Yeah, I will add on to that with oftentimes what I've seen with employees when they do all the things, there's an element of owning your own path, right? And oftentimes employees have a tendency to rely on their manager or someone else to define that path for them. And so, and it's not good or bad, right? Because we do look to your leader for guidance. But there's a point where you have to pause and say, is this what they want me to do, or is this what I want to do? Right. And if it is what they want you to do, try to understand a little bit of the why. Because sometimes you have a blind spot and they may be seeing things that you're not able to see. They may see some potential that you're not seeing. So a part of that is, one, make sure your path is clear and that you're defining it for what you want. The other piece is, who knows about it? Are you speaking up? Are you being clear? Mm-hmm. Right? And not assuming. So here's another trap, I'll call it, is that sometimes there's this assumption that, well, they should know I'm doing all the things. Here's something, that tends to show up with leaders when they're managing, 10, 15, 20 people. It makes it difficult sometimes to make sure they're chartering to those different paths, because now you're trying to help 20 different people develop their career paths. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're staying on top of it and in front of it with that leader, right? So what we're touching on right now are some of the things that you can own it to avoid that trap. It's not to say there aren't things a leader can do differently, but it's a two-way street when you're talking about building on your career in the space that you're in right now. So I'll pause right there just to, kind of talk about the part that the employee owns, and or, if it's a leader trying to get to that next level, still the employee, but the part that they own in this journey of being clear, making sure it's a path that you've defined for yourself and not following someone else's path for you, and articulating that, making sure that you share the what that you're doing to get to the next level and where you actually want to go and why you're doing all these things.
Yeah, you saying that, it made me think about when I first got into leadership and I hit my wall. because like what ended up happening for me, and I believe I talked to you about it before, is they brought in a whole new executive team. And so here it is. I had a boss. I had 3 different bosses within a year and a half. So every single time I was having to pretty much show like, hey, instead of bringing somebody else in, I'm prepared for this role. And so I ended up like getting frustrated and hopping ship, going into a completely different role, into client manager role that was not for me. But it was exactly what you said, where someone was like, hey, I think you'll be a great fit, da da da. I understand. And then they hit me with the dollar. Look, I was in my 20s. They hit me with the dollar amount. And I said, baby, yes. I can make this. And I'm still in my 20s.
That's the dangling part.
And so with that, and I got over there and I was miserable. I was no longer people managing, which I'll say sometimes you do need a break from people managing. You can get burnt out from that. And so I was at the point where I was just frustrated. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't understand. Like, I kept going to my executive leaders and saying, hey, what can I do to be that next person? And getting the runaround. And you get frustrated with that because you don't know where you need to develop in. You don't know what you need to do. I'm basically figuring it out on my own to try to get somewhere. But I see you giving someone else who I happen to develop, giving them the position. And it's like, okay, but to your point, yeah, don't go to a path that's not meant for you. But if you don't know, it goes back to what we were talking about originally, where if you don't know where you want to go or why you want to go that way, you'll be easily swayed to go either direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You also touch on the role of a leader. Mm-hmm. And what you hit on with that story is the biases that tend to show up.
Yep.
And oftentimes employee engagement is low because the leader is not acknowledging where the employee is on the journey and how they need to support that employee, and or they're just ignoring what's happening in front of them because they have these biases and or they have their own set agenda and not realizing how it's showing up. So, there's so many ways that this conversation could go, but one of the things that we touched on as we were preparing for this too is the kind of prove it again trap, right? Where it's like you got to feeling like you have to prove yourself over and over again. If you feel like you're in this position and you're, well, hey, I did it too. I did it. Here's the shift. It's positioning yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of proving yourself, position yourself. Are you in the right rooms? Are you networking with the right people, right? And when I say right people, it's being very intentional and strategic with whom you engage. Mm-hmm. And, who are decision makers in your spaces? Do you have relationships? There's so much power in relationship building. And oftentimes folks get caught up in being head down, doing their work, and then trying to figure out, well, I hit my numbers. Why didn't I get the promotion? You're proving it. You're proving you're capable, but the next step is positioning yourself and not solely relying on that one-to-one with your manager. Mm-hmm. There are peers that may be in other spaces. There are peer leaders of your manager that may be in other spaces. So start by building relationships and positioning yourself. If you're not in the room, if you're not in the meeting, hey, you're going to a meeting on this topic. Can I join? Just sit in the room and listen? Mm-hmm. Or if you're sitting on this project that you're working on, is there an opportunity for me to join and give an update? Because you want to position yourself so that people can see your value and not letting somebody else speak on your behalf each and every time. And then for leaders, this is where you can strengthen your skill set in giving your employees the opportunity to position themselves, creating the space for them to show up, and you take the step back.
Yeah, you talking about that, it made me think about a class that I had took at one of the previous jobs, and it talked about the 6 type of people you should have. You're probably familiar with it. But of course, I put my little own twist to it. But the first person was like a sponsor. And so you want to think of your sponsor, like right now, for me, someone that's out there, public figure, Mark Cuban. He is a huge advocate about DE&I. I know that's a touchy subject right now, but he's a huge advocate. I remember watching an interview where he's basically told Arlen, I can't remember her last name, but he basically told her, like, you're going to be in spaces that I will never be in or be able to relate to. However, he would support her. So you want someone who's able to advocate for you when you're in rooms. The next person is a mentor. Of course, we already know the mentor. That's our wisdom plug. I like to say that's our Oprah Winfrey. She is always going. Oprah, I feel like Oprah has mentored all of us at some point in our life from afar.
So that's one of my goals is to be on Super Soul Sunday, right, with Oprah. Just letting everybody know. When you see me, be like, hey, I know her.
But Oprah, she's always so open about sharing like her blueprint as far as how she got from just being that newscaster to owning her own show to now her own network. So you want to have that mentor that's already been there before you, and they don't have to be years ahead of you. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2 years ahead. Accountability partner. I know we all love some accountability. But accountability partner is someone that you do definitely need in your circle, someone that's going to give you grace, but also to discipline when it comes to you and wherever you want to go. The next one is like your connector, the person who's going to help expand. For me, that's like who is it? It makes me think about Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
How she connects everyone. We saw her with Grey's Anatomy, how she connected, and now she has all of these different shows and everything, but she's opened doors and introduced you to the right people. Then your challenger. This one for me, I never really thought about it, but you need someone in your life that's going to challenge you. Mel Robbins, if y'all have not read her book, listen to her podcast. She is going to challenge you like no other. Let me listen. If you want that is someone, if you can't find a challenger, listen to her. She is going to challenge you because you want someone that's going to refuse to let you settle, but also to push you forward and challenge your mindset so you're able to grow and understand your capability. And lastly, a cheerleader. You want someone who's going to root you on, who's going to hype you up. Those moments where you're low, where you know that you can't go anywhere, you want someone who's always going to be like, girl, you got this, bruh, you got this, whatever it is, because that confidence booster, it will help when imposter syndrome tries to kick in. Y'all know I talk about imposter syndrome a lot. We all have it. But you want to have these 6 people in your network when you think about it. Because if not, like, you can find yourself in there. But again, like I said, it made me think about that class that I took in those 6 different people that I never knew I needed until I knew I needed them.
Right. So it's kind of like where we're saying, what got you here won't keep you here. You walk in the door, you start in the job, you're that individual, right? And you're building your network. And so for the spaces where you're at, it's good to identify these 6 people. What happens is one of the traps, right, where folks only focus on the mentor versus what you touched on, the sponsor.
Yeah.
So that mentor is going to give you advice. You need the sponsor to speak up in rooms that you're not in. And how do you identify a sponsor? 1, you should be having the conversations with your leader. 2, when you're starting to do the relationship building, you will identify who that person is, who has the strongest voice in the room, who you can make the connections with, who can actually tell the story for you when you're not in the room, who can say, oh, you're looking for someone to lead that initiative? I got someone for you. They've been doing this, they've been doing that, they've been able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. Who can articulate your narrative and tell your story and do it justice, be an advocate for you when you're not in the room? That's the kind of person you need to help you move the needle in your career, being that sponsor for you. And sometimes a mentor can turn into a sponsor, but you gotta be specific in the ask.
Yeah, and sometimes too, I think that we get the misconception that our sponsor is the person that we report to, and that they're always constantly talking about us when we're not in the room. Yes, that may be the case. However, unless it's like this outlandish idea that I've had, I don't know of like any of my bosses that have really advocated for me to be on these certain level projects that would give me that visibility that you're talking about, outside of, oh, let's just keep it right here in this org level.
Yeah. One of the things that we haven't touched on is the old cliche, which is, being uncomfortable, learn how to get uncomfortable, right? I'm messing it up, I think. What is it? Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right? Because sometimes you're doing the things and you're making the changes and you feel like, gosh, I've been so loyal to this company. They owe me this. No, you owe yourself. You owe yourself that moment where it's time to say, you know what? Let me take this somewhere else. It's time to pivot in my career. And that pivot may be either in another company, another department, another industry. And that industry piece is where people get afraid the most, changing industries. You've learned so much. You've obtained so many skills that are transferable, that would be welcomed in other spaces, but you're limiting your options by thinking where you're at now is they owe you loyalty. Now, don't get me wrong. Organizations should demonstrate value. They should recognize good talent within their spaces. But again, you own your career. When you've hit that space and you feel good about your contributions, you feel good about the quantitative and qualitative contributions that you've made, it's time to make a decision. Am I being so loyal that it's hindering me? Or is it time to pivot and do something different and get comfortable making that next move? Most of the time, especially my generation, Gen X, we are so loyal. And, I'm just going to stick it out. I'm going to stick it out.
Yes,
I'm going to stick it out. I've been here. Listen, I'll tell you a quick story. I can remember when I changed jobs after working at a company for so long. And my parents, baby boomers, were like, girl, don't you leave that job. Don't you leave that job. You out, And so you get conditioned thinking you're supposed to respond in that way. When what you're doing is you're creating burnout. Sometimes you develop anxiety, depression, your health and wellness take a hit because you're thinking, well, when I got here, I was doing all these things. People were vibing with me. They recognized me. And then boom, new talents coming in. This person from the outside. Little Mary over here that's only 10 years old is getting a promotion and I've been here 20 years. So those things start to set in and it causes you to have self-doubt. And you start not believing in yourself. And when that happens, that imposter syndrome that you touched on, you start showing up differently. You don't realize it, but you're showing up in a way that could be also getting in the way of your next opportunity.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I'm good.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say something else. I was like, my bad.
I could keep going.
I think too is that you should have like either a quarterly or a mid-year check-in with yourself and ask yourself questions that you can only say yes or no to. Am I still happy? Yes or no. Does this job still bring me joy? Let's be honest. You know, that's something that's very huge. Does it still bring you joy? Does it still bring you the type of joy when you were excited when you got it? Yes or no. But pick 3 questions that are for you to say yes or no to. And if at any point you say no to all 3 of them, it is time for you to figure out what your next move is. And just like Cynthia said, like take that jump, because I'm pretty sure that jump and leap that you took to get that job, understand you can take that jump and leap to get the next job. And if that next job is in a different industry, if that next job is you saying, you know what, peace out, I'm out of here, I'm only working for myself, whatever that looks like, take that jump. And if you need some encouragement, I am very adventurous. Go jump out of a plane. I've done it.
That's that other generation talking.
Go jump out of a plane, and you will never be afraid to jump from another job again.
But in short, where we're going with this is being mindful, right? With everything, it's a mindset shift that has to happen. And what got you there is not going to keep you or help you elevate. You're growing. The person you were 10 years ago is different today. The person you were a year ago is different today. So as you grow, your mindset has to shift. And so take those skills that you have, own it, show up the way that you know how to show up. Make sure your story is being told the way you want it told, and build relationships. Don't get stuck in saying they owe me, or I can't believe they don't recognize. While some of it may be true, you can only control what you can control. And that's how you show up, creating a narrative for yourself, getting the right people in your corner, and making the tough decisions. Do I stay or do I go?
Yeah. And understand, like Cynthia said, you're just continuously growing. How you communicate, if you've made that jump and you just got into leadership for the very first time, the way you communicated with your peers is not the way you can communicate with your team. And understanding that if you want them to do something just because you have that title and you tell them to do something, that they're going to do it. No, they're still people. You still want to treat them just like you want to be treated. You can't control how they take it. However, you can control the way you deliver it. You can control how you effectively communicate with them. And if you don't know how to do that, that's your indicator. Like, okay, this is a skill set that I thought I was good at. And granted, you were good at that level. But now at this level, it takes a different type of communication skill set that you haven't used that muscle before. It's just like, I said it earlier this week, but it's just like LeBron James, for all my sports fanatics out there. For LeBron James, when he first got into the NBA, you see this man now. Grown man now. If he couldn't do the same regimen that he was doing when he first got into the NBA, to become this version of himself, he had to continue to grow and develop. And you have to take that into the workplace, take that same mindset, that same discipline, and understand, okay, not to say like, oh, I have to do it his way, but everybody has to grow and develop on their own, and understand that the reason why you're still there and you're stuck, it's more about the person that is looking back at yourself in the mirror than the external factors.
Absolutely, 100. We're right at time, and for those who haven't joined us before, what we like to do at the end is light each other's torch. But I feel like we have been lit the entire time. I know that's a Gen X thing, my bad. But we really want to make sure that this fireside chat series is value add for everyone out there who's looking to grow in their careers, who are people leaders needing to strengthen their skill set, who are just maybe navigating and challenged by personal things going on in life that are affecting them in their careers. What can you take away from this conversation to really help you move the needle? Share your thoughts in the comments wherever you might be, whether it's on LinkedIn or our YouTube channel. Please continue to support, to follow, and let us know what you want to know more about. But before we actually close, let's light the torch. Candace, you want to go first?
Sure. I had it right too, my son. And then I just lost it.
That was me last time.
No, look, I done entered a new decade, and I'm like, whoo.
Yes. So tell Candace happy birthday, y'all. She just had a birthday this week, so happy birthday, Candace.
I know, y'all. New decade, 40. Oh, I'm ready for it. But no, so I would say to similar to what you said earlier, this week, get uncomfortable with yourself. Get uncomfortable with yourself and really take a step back to look into exactly what it is that you want to do next, and get uncomfortable with the version of yourself that will thank you in the future.
Oh, I love that. The version that will thank you in the future. Ooh, that was good. I will say, real simple. We talked about the questions to ask yourself. The one is, am I showing up in the rooms where decisions are being made? And the other is, who do I need to bring along? Challenge yourself coming out of this conversation. What are the things within my control that are going to help me navigate the future of my career? Show up for you, and I promise you'll feel the shift happening. Good luck to everyone out there who are navigating their careers and looking to move the needle. We'll be back again in April. If you've missed anything, go back where you'll find us on YouTube. You can see the banner streaming there, where to find us on YouTube, and definitely keep up with us on LinkedIn as we continue to share insights. Have a good night, everyone.
Oh, shout out Marco, because I saw you millennial up in there. But hey,
yes, everyone who shared comments, we appreciate you.
Have a good night, y'all.
Bye-bye.